Time is a precious commodity. People use it for all sorts of things. Some use it for work and other responsibilities. Me? I'm going to use time to talk to some really awesome people. I'm Sergio Barrera, and this is A Few Minutes With. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of A Few Minutes With. I am Sergio Barrera, and always with me here on the show is the lovely Susan Bruiser, Susan Chisholm. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, welcome. How are you today?
I am fine. I am home. Can you see?
I know it's super exciting. Like I can't imagine how relieved and relaxed you have to be feeling. Like,
well, it's I mean, it's fun. I'm glad I'm home. I do miss my my Houston folks that I got to meet over the last few weeks. But there's nothing like doing your stuff at your own desk. Streaming. This right. The last time I did a podcast for my own desk, I still had two. So it's been nice. I have this is not a brag, but I finally got to watch my big TV again. And tomorrow I'm gonna bust out the PS5. So I'm excited.
So exciting. Yeah. Well, and I remember you were telling me about, you're like, I can't see my hotel. My hotel has got a really nice TV, but it's not my TV. So
that's right.
It
was cool. So first of all, welcome to all of you who have joined us here this evening. We appreciate you being here, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook Live. We already have some folks in the chat. This is an interactive experience, so if you're new, feel free to comment in the chat. I see folks like our buddy Drew, Captain Sparkle Pants, also known as Colin Chisholm. Let's see who else is out there. Savage is here. So thank you guys for jumping in the chat. If you are here for the first time, don't be shy. Say hello in the chat function, whether on YouTube or Facebook, and we will welcome you into the family. So
yes.
So I have a story I wanted to share with you. I got home, and you helped me a lot with moving gear and so forth, and
I tried my best.
Whenever you're gone for, I don't know how long you've ever been away from home, like at a single time.
Not an incredibly long amount. No.
Okay, so not 6 weeks.
Not 6 weeks for sure.
So you reach a point where you're packing to go home, and everything has to be accounted for so that nothing's left behind. And I'm talking about just regular clothes, right? And toiletries and such. And I went to go wrap up the last bit of items that I needed before I checked out of my hotel. And I realized that I had started a brand new tube of toothpaste like that week, like last week, right? Okay. And so I was well over 4 ounces, let's just say, of toothpaste. So I couldn't pack it in the one bag that I'd brought, right?
Right.
My goal was to not have anything to check. But as a carry-on, I couldn't bring it on board. So I had to leave the tube of toothpaste. And so I got home, and I immediately went to put a grocery order in, and bought, because that was my last tube. So I bought a 2-pack of toothpaste like I always do.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard the phrase "out of sight, out of mind"?
Yes. I live it daily.
Okay, gotcha. I was doing some. I was getting ready this morning. It's been a couple of days since I've been home. Had to borrow Jen's toothpaste before I got my groceries, and she's. I prefer Crest with scope. And anyway, so I got my new toothpaste in, and I went to go put the second bottle or the second tube in the cabinet where it belongs until I need it. And I have 9 tubes of toothpaste. So
wow. I've done that before with bars of soap.
I look like an extreme couponer, man.
Well, no, you're supposed to sell. You're supposed to go on Facebook Marketplace and sell the items,
Yeah.
the extra
No, that's
items.
true. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I got toothpaste for years, or months. But yeah, 9 tubes of toothpaste because apparently I've done this before where I thought I was out and got the next the two set. And yeah, it
Yeah.
began at 7, but then as I was, rearranging my counter in my bathroom, I from the corner of my eye I was like, that's another box of 2 sitting right there in the corner. So I'm up to 9. So
Well,
yeah,
at least you won't be out anytime soon.
this is true. Yeah, I told Jen, I had her come in the room and I was like, hey, I'm a director. You're my star. The line is, don't order more toothpaste. And then I said, I'm going to tell you the story and the context. And then I want you to deliver the line however you think you should. And so I the story and I got to the punchline of 9, tubes of toothpaste. And I said, you ready? Action. And she goes, don't fucking order more fucking toothpaste, fucker.
I love Jen so much. I love her so much.
Message received.
Message received.
Message received. Of course, she's going to check behind me on all of our dumpling grocery orders.
I mean, better safe than sorry, right?
I guess, yeah. That's a few bucks we can save every week. So
yeah. I know that you also had to leave behind a bottle of hot sauce and a bottle of soda.
I thought you took them.
I did.
Oh, okay, good.
But I remember
I was
you
like,
were
I knew I wasn't going to use them.
No, and like I was looking at it and I'm like, you can't carry this on the plane.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'll just put it in. Yeah, everything's here. Everything's safe.
Excellent. All right.
Still hasn't been touched, so.
Yeah. It was so it's been an interesting couple of days back home, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I rebuilt my rig. If you check my social media out, you can see those of you who are curious, I rebuilt my rig and redid a few things, and I'm ready to continue the streaming business, podcasting business, and all the fun. So yeah. So how about you? How have you been?
I mean, I've been good. Just kind of chilling, relaxing throughout the week. I was had a couple of days this week where I was completely on my own with nobody else even in the room.
Nice.
Which was it was nice.
How'd it go?
And it went really well. The supervisor of that pod that I was in, kind of like I she's so sweet, and she would kind of be like, walk into the room and be like, is there anything that you need? Anything at all? And she would be like doing something. I'm like, no, I'm good. I got it. Thank you. And then, later on I messaged her. I was like, thanks for stopping, thanks for checking on me a couple times today and stuff like that. And she was like, of course, yeah, anytime. And so then, Wednesday's my typical day off. Thursday, today we had, because I'm in a residency program, we had class this morning or seminar this morning.
Yeah.
And I got to talk, one-on-one with some of the instructors.
Nice.
And then this afternoon I took my daughter to go get her learner's permit.
Ooh. How'd that go?
Well, I mean, because I am who I am, I had all the paperwork ready to go.
Yeah.
So it was just basically an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of just, sitting in the DPS office. And she was
right.
She was anxious. And I was like, why are you so, like, literally, we're going to go to the window. We're going to talk to the lady. We're going to sign some stuff. And then we're going to leave. And I think she kept thinking that we were going to have her driving test.
Oh, you said permit. Okay, yeah. See, I misunderstood. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, then how'd she do?
Okay, no. Yeah,
so this is for her to start to learn.
Yeah, her learner's permit.
Got it.
And yeah, so she signed the paper. The lady handed her the paper temporary. Permit, and Evelyn just kind of stood there and looked at it and then looked at me and then looked at her. And I was like, we're done. Thank you. Have a nice day. And we walked out and she's like, yeah. We get to the car and she's like, man, I feel so good. I could even drive home. I was like, yeah, you could. And I went to hand her the key. She's like, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. But you won't.
She had almost a panic attack trying to back out of the driveway.
Yeah, well, she's a bright kid. She's gonna do fine. So.
Oh yeah, so awesome.
Awesome. So I bet you've done some gaming this week.
I have. I've done a little bit of gaming actually, even today.
That's good. That's good because it's going to feed very nicely into our guests this week as we prepare to welcome a very dear friend of both of ours. And we're going to talk tonight about gaming. Now, gaming, Susan, is this huge, like, plethora of potential topics and subtopics. But I think that the reason that our guest today is a perfect guest is because, as you know, this is a person who not only is the consummate gamer, comic book collector,
record collector.
You name, that's right, vinyls, which we're going to talk about.
Gaming vinyls, yeah.
There's a reason we use the term sommelier on the promo for the show, the gaming sommelier, because as sommeliers are experts in fine wine, this guy is an expert when it comes to all things gaming. So without further ado, I say we just go ahead and bring him on, and then we'll give him a hard time.
Yes.
Our guest this week from the interwebs, you know him as Raziel Prime, but I am proud and happy to welcome to the show Nick Kramer. Nick, welcome to A Few Minutes With. Thanks for being here.
Hello. I'm glad to be. Welcome back from the depths of the right-hand side of Texas.
The humidity.
The underside of a dog's tongue.
I had no shame in saying to my students on day one that I was in Houston that the humidity in that city was disrespectful. And they all understood. They were like, yeah, of course. But yeah, so glad to be back. Glad to see you here. Thank you so much for bringing your knowledge to our topic tonight.
Yeah,
because for you, gaming is it's a lifestyle. It's a thing, right? It's you've been steeped in it quite a bit. So just to jump right in, do you even recall, Nick, what your first game ever was? Like, what was the gateway drug that got you into gaming?
I know that I was playing. Okay, so before even owning a Nintendo, like an original Nintendo Entertainment System gray box, I didn't get my first one of those until Christmas of '89, even though I had been playing on like other people's NESs like in the couple of years before that at their houses and stuff. But my dad had a PC, and there was this it was called Ski Free. It was on Windows. It was on Windows 3.1. It was like one of the games that came with Windows, like, Solitaire and stuff. Yep. But it was this little stick figure skiing game where, from your point of view, the little you were using the arrow keys to direct him as he was as you were dodging trees and different things that were down the edge of the mountain. But as you got further and further down the mountain, what would end up happening is that eventually an abominable snowman would come speeding out from the side, and there should have always been a way to be able to escape him, but it's like, basically, no. He was gonna grab you, eat you, and use one of your little stick figure legs as a toothpick when he was done. It was all very basic graphics from like 85 or whatever, but it still scared you every time he was like, oh god, I'm getting too far. This is the game's not going to allow me to go further. And then all of a sudden, here he comes.
And what was the game called?
It was just called Ski Free.
Ski Free.
Yeah.
I feel like they should remake it, like with today's graphics.
Yeah, like they should. Go ahead, Susan.
I was saying you sound traumatized. You went,
oh god, I know. Like they should remake Minesweeper, but with like 4K graphics.
That would be awesome. I would love that so much. I used to be so good at that game.
Yeah, but have you played Solitaire? No.
Yes, plenty of time.
But yeah, so as we begin this conversation, Nick, I have to say there's sort of a time-based thing here, Susan, because the same 10-year anniversary that I celebrated for being employed at my current employer earlier in February is actually the 10-year anniversary of me meeting this guy. Because I met Nick literally on my first day of work 10 years ago. And I've shared this story before on stream and other places. Nick, if you can handle it just one more time. Nick is one of those guys that when you meet him, the energy is just so there. And
surely
all the things that he was excited about, I had no interest in. So comic books, video games, and such. And here we are 10 years later, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I can understand some of this stuff now. And so I have to give Nick a lot of credit for the fact that I'm going to understand a pretty decent portion of this conversation tonight. Because up until about 2.5 years ago, I was not playing games. So as we begin this process of sort of exploring your mind, Nick, when it comes to games, can you just begin by sharing with us, and this is probably a bit of an answer, so feel free to take your time. Styles of games. Are there genres? Are there particular types that are your favorites? Do you go to them at different points? Like, just sort of walk us through what your gaming world looks like.
The only genres that I don't care for, like, it's easier to tell you the ones that I don't like as opposed to the ones that I do, because I like more than I don't. But what you call it, I don't like sports games, like like sports simulators, like ones that try to be really in the weeds with like it kind of like doing what is it, fantasy football, but in a game, like the ones where it's like, oh, you have to like build up your guy's stats and he might be good at this thing, but this other thing, I don't care. What you call it? So sports games like that, sports simulators, and games like that would be like the NBA 2K games, and any of the 2K games are like simulators or whatever. Because I don't care for sports really in real life anyway, so it's like, why am I going to play a game? But I do like some sports games, but more arcadey games like NBA Jam, like the old football game Tecmo Bowl and stuff like that.
I know Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah,
I knew you were gonna react.
But it doesn't have all this other stuff that it's like, I don't care about the sport part. I just want to make things go
past the ball.
Yeah, I just want to pass the ball, make point, go. Eat hot shit, charge phone, make point, go. You know what I mean? But what you call it? It's so sports simulators, and then what you call it? Oh, and then racing simulators. So like games like, say, Forza Motorsport and Gran Turismo, the ones where it's like I'm tuning the pressure in my wheels for my car and stuff. And they try to be so realistic that it's like it's not even fun driving the vehicle. Whereas just more arcadey racing games like Forza Horizon, the Burnout games like Burnout Paradise, even Mario Kart and F-Zero and stuff. It's like pretty graphics, sense of speed, go fast, fun happen, I don't care about the tire pressure of my car. If I did, then, I'd get out and drive right now. And why am I going to do that? So, yeah.
So no farming simulator for you?
Well.
Goat simulator.
Well, Goat simulator, or I Am Toast, right? Toast simulator. The toasting. But, I would say the farming games, I do have a farming game, but there's like this long-lived farming series called, Harvest Moon, that's been around for like a very long time on console. It's not on PC at all. That's made by a studio called Natsume out of Japan, and it's very popular. It's been around literally for decades, and there's a number of entries that have come up, but it's a farming simulator, and it's like a relationship simulator too mixed in there. So it's, you can get a spouse, or get a boyfriend or girlfriend, get a spouse, eventually marry them, and all kinds of stuff. Wow. But there's farming involved. I mean, it's all farming and stuff, but it's like, a slice of life game. But I haven't played a Harvest Moon in a very long time. The closest I get is Animal Crossing on everything Nintendo. So, but yeah, sports simulators and racing sims, I don't care. It's just go fast, look pretty. And that's as close as I'll get to like a sports game or whatever it is. But everything else besides those, like I'm down for, like, art role playing games, RPGs, action games, 3D platformers, regular 2D platformers like Mario games and stuff like that are my thing.
Gotcha.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you like all types of games. Are you the kind of person that has to play one game at a time to completion and then you can start another game, or are you somebody who can play multiple games at the same time?
No. Yeah, I've got such a backlog, it's not even funny. And it's like, there's this one instance that I remember very, very particularly, was back in I want to say it was 2001 or 2002, when for the Nintendo GameCube, which had just come out earlier in the year, I think in 2001. It was about November or so. This must have been 2002 or so, because Resident Evil 0 and Metroid Prime had both come out on the same day, and I bought them both, obviously.
Yeah.
I played Resident Evil 0 for the first hour of the game, and then never touched it again until a year later, when I was like, I need to play that. And so I committed, sat down, beat it in 3 days. So, but yeah, that's playing one game at a time. It's like, no, right now I continue to play Halo Infinite, because that's just the multiplayer piece of it is just you can drop in and go into anytime. There's that. I'm still continuing my run through Resident Evil 4 Remake that came out earlier in the year, or actually end of last year. So playing through Resident Evil 4 Remake, still playing Halo Infinite, Starfield, the new RPG from the makers of Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, came out playable for me anyway 2.5 hours ago. I haven't touched it yet, but after we're done here, I'm going to play a little bit of it before I end up going to sleep. So yeah, I have long answer, short question. Yeah, I'm playing multiple things at the same time. I'm still playing what is it? Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom right now on Switch. I'm still making my way through that. I'm like maybe 30% through it, but I've already put in like 130 hours on it.
Yeah. I'm curious, Susan, if you don't mind me asking, since we're talking about it, what are some of the games that you have ongoing? Because I think we're all sort of in that boat in a different way. But do you have games like that you are you sort of switch between?
Yes, yeah. So I have been on Tears of the Kingdom also. New World, obviously we've been playing that for a long time. Somebody keeps wanting me to play Grim Dawn. And
don't
just look sideways, look up here too.
I know you both are trying to. I struggle with getting too many games started.
Gotcha.
Because I get overwhelmed and I just stop. I won't play any of them.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of thing. So right now, just 2, New World, and Tears of the Kingdom.
Gotcha. Just some comments from those who are in the chat with us, Nick. Good old Gator recently started Mountain Blade. Rasta mentions that his favorite games are Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, which later I'm going to ask you about the latest Street Fighter, because you've been playing that.
Oh yeah. I forgot about it, but yeah, I've been majorly playing Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, we have a whole segment we're going to talk about here towards the end of our time together. But I'm curious, because it's going to sound like an unfair question, but hopefully we can kind of get to where I'm going. You mentioned all of the different game types that you do like. Is there one particular style that you could say, okay, this is sort of my favorite? Because my question is, what makes a good game? Like, what for you, as so pick a style of game, or maybe a game, and just talk us through what you feel makes a strong game.
Well, okay, so I was about to say the story, but like there's a bunch of games that like story doesn't mean squat, right? Like any Mario game ever, even the most recent ones, is like princess kidnapped, go get her, but and that's basically it, right?
We need him to write the back of the boxes for these guys.
Yeah. But it's about the journey, not her, not getting her, right? But like some of my favorite games are ones that have a very good narrative or a very deep narrative to them as far as a story. So games like the Metal Gear Solid series that is about to be re-released in less than 2 months from now on all platforms or whatever is a collection of the first
Oh,
I
no.
think the first half of the whatchamacallit of the series anyway is being released on everything including Steam. But the Metal Gear Solid games, the Mass Effect trilogy, Death Stranding, any of the games that Hideo Kojima has made that have a lot of lore to them, a lot of world building done to them, or that that colors the world that the game is happening in. Yeah, the game itself might be very basic, maybe, but if the story's good and the characters are good, and if there's voice acting and if the acting is good, then that is like, you know, moth to flame for me or whatever kind of thing, especially when it comes to the particular games that I like. So yeah.
Gotcha. Talk a little bit about, if you would, because you mentioned the way I know chefs,
Mhm.
you know game creators.
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore, and tell us why. Top 4 game creators, and then what? Tell us why you think so.
Easy. So that's going to be top 4. Say okay. So right at the top, and anyone who's in gaming for any reasonable amount of time will say top is Shigeru Miyamoto, the man who created the Steven Spielberg, if you want to say, of video games. Right? He was the creator of Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda, Pikmin on GameCube, and up till now on Switch. Do you play Pikmin 4? You've seen it, Susan?
I played Pikmin 3 and
Yeah.
4. Yes, yeah.
And how they just re-released 1 and 2 together on the Switch. Yeah, I just bought them all. I bought them all, man.
I have no idea.
Little seed guys. They're the cutest, but the game is so cool. But yeah, so Shigeru Miyamoto, he's the dude. He's the Jack Kirby of the video game world or whatever it is. He created like the iconic characters in games. He's not necessarily creating games anymore. He's more of backseating as far as directing the directors who are taking care of those games now. But he's like he's the dude. Next to him, Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima, who for 25 years worked for the Japanese studio or the Japanese development publisher Konami, creating games like the Metal Gear Solid series and the Zone of the Enders on PlayStation. But the thing with his games, and more recently, his most recent release was Death Stranding, and his studio is currently working on Death Stranding 2 will come out when it's fully baked. But his thing is that his way of telling, of world building and story and writing, some people find, or maybe more than a few people find, incredibly obtuse, and that he needs an editor. But I say the nay. No, he needs to keep on doing exactly what he's always been doing for the last 35 years that he's been in the game industry. The guy, he actually just celebrated his 60th birthday yesterday. And he's like, I'm going to be creating games until the day I die if I can get away with it. But his games take a lot of the time. Metal Gear Solid series and Death Stranding in particular take a lot of real world stuff, whether it's history or just this real world stuff, and intermixes whatever the fantastical stuff having to do with the game itself or the world that he's created in the game, that it's like, yeah, this stuff could happen. It's like, yeah, we're gonna create a series where some stuff went down in the 1960s during the Cold War with Russia, but at the same time there are AIs and vampires and stuff, and it works with actual history and everything like that. That's a reduction, a massive reduction of what he does, but he's very, very good at character and story-driven lore creation for his worlds and stuff, and I'm very excited for Death Stranding 2 coming up.
Before you move on, forgive me. You have put how many hours into Death Stranding?
3 different times I've played that game to 100%. the first time on when it came out on PS4 back in November of 19, and then again the following year when it came out on Steam, and then again the following year when it came out on Steam again for the director's cut. Each time it was, the first time through, it was, I want to say, 198 hours, and this was still like 100% the game. The second time through was 138 hours, because now it's like I was able to efficiency. I was able to knew what I was doing now,
Like,
not playing it the first time. Yeah. But I was still 100% of the game. And then when the director's cut version came out, that added more than a bit stuff. I ended up hitting, like, I think it was just over 200 hours on that run through. And the game can be beaten very, very much less time than that.
Yeah.
But to do everything and to just like enjoy the world that the game takes place in, I was in no rush. But yeah, I will not play the game again. I have made the promise to myself. I will not play Death Stranding to completion again. I've already done it 3 times and put like basically 600 hours into the game. But because I've done it now enough until Death Stranding 2 comes out whenever it's ready.
Nice. All right, I think you gave.
But yeah, that's two. Trying to think of who. Okay. Eiji Aonuma. He's the current man in charge at Nintendo for the Legend of Zelda series ever since it was handed off to him by Miyamoto back in the day, and he's responsible for Twilight Princess that was on the GameCube. He's responsible for Skyward Sword that was on the Wii, and he is responsible for the biggest style change in Zelda ever since it turned 3D back in 1998 when Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom have come out, which are just so stupid fantastic. Those 2 games, it's ridiculous. I put 200 hours into Breath of the Wild before I finally 100%ed it, and right now I'm like over 100 hours into Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm like 30% through it or what have you. But it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful game, beautiful world. Our guy Link still doesn't talk, but it doesn't matter. Everyone else hears him. They know. We don't have to hear him, but yeah, as far as a fourth one, as I look at my shelf to remind myself, I don't know. Really, I can't. I want to say those 3. I'll just stick to those 3. Mario's head can be the fourth one or whatever it is or something.
So you mentioned that you played Death Stranding 3 times to completion. Are there other games that you can kind of like go back to again and again and again, or is it one and done?
No. No. Well, one that I go back to a lot. I like playing. Oh gosh, let me think. I like the Halo games a lot. The story in those is really good, and they are, it's a first-person shooter, so there's a lot of action. The story building for the world building for it has always been really, really good. They even got to the point where they made like novels and comic books that like filled out like side stories that take place in the same universe at different times and everything. But I've always liked the storyline for it. I always said that that before the Mass Effect trilogy, that like Halo was like the Star Trek or the Star Wars of like video games or what have you. But then now we've got the Mass Effect trilogy, so that's kind of like, to me, that's the Star Trek of video games. But yeah, but the Halo games, as far as the story goes, I really like them a lot. And then the multiplayer just keeps the fun going when the story's over, kind of thing.
All right. So,
but yeah.
So you also mentioned that part of what draws you to a game is having a good story.
Yeah.
But I know that having good music also draws you into it. And as we mentioned at the beginning, you're a collector of vinyl records of mostly game soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get started doing that? And what would you say is your most prized one? Or two?
Yeah, one. I got into I love video game music. I love video games. I like the music that's in them, right? And even the music that, from back in the day that was just beeps and boops. It's like people who've never played video games might never care to play video games, but everybody knows the Super Mario Brothers theme. They might not have ever touched the game before, but they know how that tune goes. They even, oh yeah, that's that Mario thing. But of course, game music is not beeps and boops anymore. It's played by it's a lot more realistic now and played live instruments, all that kind of stuff. But I've got such a ridiculous amount of video game soundtracks and arrangement albums and stuff like that on my computer from CDs I purchased back in the day, and then other ways of acquiring them. But what you call it? Back in like 2017, I found out. I don't know how I found the website, but I saw that the soundtrack for the old Sega Genesis game Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3 was on a vinyl record. And I was like, that looks cool. And the fact that the packaging was, it was the original game art, and they did really cool stuff with the actual vinyl itself, like different color splatters and stuff like that with it to go along with like the coloring of the jacket for the vinyl and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. So I was like, okay, well, who's making these? Are these legit? Or are they like licensed or something? And there's more than a couple of record labels out there that mostly in the UK anyway, that will do there are some in the States, but that will do licensed vinyl pressings or whatever. They'll get with the studio, the game dev, and they'll be like, hey, can we make a vinyl record of this? And they'll pay whatever they need to, and they'll make something. And it's all official and stuff like that. But then there's also a large community of bootleg vinyl creators that end up making these games or making releases of these things on vinyl, these games on vinyl, that because the studios and the game devs will never, there's no money in it for the publisher. So why are they going to get into vinyl if only like a few thousand people are going to buy it? You know what I mean? Vinyl's on the uptick, but it's like you get very niche kind of thing like that when you're getting into particular fandoms and stuff. So I thought it was really neat. I ended up finding out there was a whole bunch of different releases, both official and unofficial and stuff like that, and ways of getting them and everything. And I ended up getting into that, and I have a very large collection now that I have, and I like them because the jackets are really cool. The art that comes with them is really cool. The things they do with the records, are as far as like the physical record itself, is really cool as far as how they design them and how they do different color splatters and get creative with them and stuff like that. And the one, probably the one that I have that is the one that is like kind of seen as like the tippy top one is the box set that I have for the old Super Nintendo game Chrono Trigger. The old, yes, I remember yeah, it's great. It's great. No, it's a gorgeous box set that some very, very, very talented people created, and it's beautiful. It comes, it's the entire soundtrack pressed to four vinyl, to 4 records, and all the stuff that comes with it was really cool. In fact, one of the cooler things that comes with it is that it has a slip mat for your record player. Like, you have like the fabric ones that you put, and then you put the record on top of it. But it has this slip mat that is designed. The design of it is the time portal from the game. Like whenever they're traveling through time in the epoch, the time machine. So whenever it's spinning, it looks like the time portal from the game that's spinning. But it also was treated to be UV reactive. So if you have a UV light, which it comes with, and it's got a little spotlight UV light that came with the release that you can set up next to your record player, and you shine it down, and it basically, because the records for that release are transparent, you could see the slip mat through the record as it's playing, and it's spinning, so it looks like the time portal, but it also is glowing like the time portal because it's reacting to the UV light. Which is just like, that's sick. That's awesome, right? Like, who the hell? Like, it's super cool. So yeah, I saw that and was lucky enough to find one. So
I need this.
Well, your answer was predicted by Official Icarus Audio, who said Chrono Trigger, and then they said,
yeah.
Oh no, not that one. They said If he says anything else, he's a liar. So
Yeah, I am. I know that's my
That was a test.
that's my friend that I'm going to visit this weekend or whatever it is, and the lips are sealed. this stuff is
Now you mentioned the vinyls, the vinyl collection and so forth, but you, as is your way, you kind of sometimes take things even further. You've traveled to see these soundtracks, some of these soundtracks played live. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. That's something that's been going on for a long time, even before it was happening in the States. Like in Japan, like you could go for decades, you would go into a record store or a music store and buy the soundtracks to video games like it was no big, like it was just regular music, because to them it is, right? It's just as valid as something played on the radio or what have you. I always remember back in the day in '97 when the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack came out, when Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1 came out. That was a 4-disc soundtrack, and it was #1 on their equivalent of the Billboard charts for a few weeks. It was a video game soundtrack for a PlayStation game that was like, you just go buy it in the store, right? So over there since the 80s and stuff, when gaming really like kind of took off, there's always been live performances, whether it's by symphony orchestras or even like small like rock things going on, where they take actual video game music and then reproduce it in real life with real instruments in different styles and stuff like that, whether it's the same style from the game or something completely new. And eventually that caught on over here in the States, where they thought, oh, well, hey, there's actually an audience for this stuff, right? I think the one that kind of kicked it off was the orchestra series Video Games Live, that they basically, it was a touring thing that started, I think it was like in 2006 or something like that it started, and then it was just a traveling show. Whatever city they'd go to, they would hire the local orchestra, and they would be playing stuff that they had never seen before, but they roped in a lot of people who would never go to the orchestra to go and see this stuff played live. So I've gone to Video Games Live a couple of times, or more than a few times, where they played a smattering of different themes from different games, both old and new. There was during The Legend of Zelda's 25th anniversary, so that was like 10, 11 years ago. Nintendo actually commissioned an orchestra to do an anniversary show, so a live orchestra and huge choir that was traveling around performing themes from all of Zelda games. And there's one, and the Final Fantasy series has had a long-running relationship with the Grammy winner. Oh gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Shoot, I'm forgetting his name right off the top of my head. There's this Grammy-winning conductor who has been partnered with Square Enix, the developer for the Final Fantasy series, for literally like 20 years, and he's been the head conductor and arranger for their series of live soundtrack concerts all over the place. And I've traveled to Dallas, to Phoenix, Arizona to go see it, because they haven't come to San Antonio yet, so someday. But that one goes all over the world all the time, so it's really good. Arnie Roth, that's his name. Arnie Roth is that dude's name. And
Gotcha. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to have you talk a little bit, Nick, about one of your other passions, and that is Doctor Who, particularly in the world. That's
a left turn.
Yeah, big time. And I told you my know. So but yeah, no, you again. We're out of the gaming conversation for just a moment, but I really would love it if you would share just a little bit about why that is for you. Something you're passionate about, and then a particular Doctor that you cosplayed a few times. Talk a little bit about that experience, and I think it connects, because cosplaying is part of the world of gaming in certain ways.
It is. It's part of a couple of different like fandom things. Whoa, I heard something right now. So it was him, right? Back. Oh golly, I think in like 2014, there was we had the local here in San Antonio anyway, had a local comic book convention, pop culture convention called Alamo City Comic Con, and I was just going as a fan to go and see stuff, buy stuff, get celebrities to sign autographs on things and stuff that I had and everything. And somebody, more than a couple of people, had just out of nowhere, and I wasn't dressed up or anything like that. I was just regular me. Had said, just randomly come up to me like you do in a convention where there's a few thousand people that you don't know, that everybody's a stranger, and said, "Hey, you should dress up, or you should cosplay as Doctor Who, as the 10th Doctor." And I was like, I know that I've only heard of the show before. Like, I remember it being on, I want to say, for me anyway, it was on PBS like years and years, and like back when I was like single digit years old and stuff like that. And at the time it was the 4th Doctor, the one with the curly hair and the long scarf or what have you. But I didn't remember the show. I was just like, oh, guy time travels, I think, and that's it. But eventually people that I was friends with, not strangers at the convention, were like, oh yeah, no, you would totally get away with cosplaying him or whatever. And this was before I had all this going on and stuff. And so I ended up finding some episodes of the show, and apparently the show had been on a hiatus for 15 years or something like that, and came back, not rebooted, but just picking up where it left off, with a new Doctor character in like 2005 or something along those lines. And Christopher Eccleston was the guy playing the 9th Doctor, who was and he's a big actor. He's been on too many things to name, but he was only on the show for 1 season before they brought a new actor to play the Doctor, in this case the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, who now a lot of people know who he is. He's been in Broadchurch on Fox, and he was Broadchurch in the BBC. He was the main bad guy in Jessica Jones, the Netflix Marvel MCU series. He's been in a lot of stuff, but yeah, but when I saw the show, I really glomped onto his character because I really liked his acting. I really liked his portrayal of the Doctor. Just his acting, just his way of being, I was very drawn to. I really liked him. Really liked the guy. I liked how the way the storyline that his character went through for the 5 seasons. I want to say that he was the character, and I was like, I could do that. I'm like tall like him. I'm slim like him. I could just grow out some, my sideburns. I could just change my hair. That's what they make product for, or whatever it is, right? I've already wear glasses like he does, or like sometimes does in the show and everything. So I found a lady online who was able to like tailor me because he was his particular outfit, because all the iterations of the Doctor, same guy, different lives, or what, as it were. He wore like a pinstripe blue suit, and a long brown trench coat. So that, and not like a wool one that was heavy, but one that was like really flappy in the wind kind of thing. And he always said it was because the showrunner always said it was because he wanted to kind of give the tinge that he was like a superhero or something. So it was like his version of a cape, but not really. So I found a lady online who was able to tailor the pinstripe suit for me, the pants and the jacket, and also do actually make a version size for me of the long trench coat, and so lined with the same fabric color and all that stuff. So basically, it wasn't the real thing, but it was close enough looking wise. And I even bought was it a episode accurate tie for like the 50th anniversary episode that had just aired not too long before that. So when 2015 came along, I actually cosplayed for the first time at Alamo City Comic Con as the Doctor, as the 10th Doctor. And from the second that the show started, it was like people coming up wanting to take their picture with me. I was like, what the hell? I was like, what is this? This is so cool. This is so weird. And even some of the celebrities that they had asked to come to the show to like be celebrities, I would be going to their to their table, and I remember, and they would be asking me, "Can I take a picture with you? You want to take a picture? Because I want to take a picture and put it on Instagram of us and stuff." And the one I remember the most was Robert Englund, so Freddy Krueger. He
Nice.
and I was afraid I was gonna make the people in line behind me mad because he was talking to me about my cosplay for so long. It felt like it was a long time, but everyone behind me they were all just bent over like listening. They were like, "Oh, that's so cool. He's talking to her for a long time." But yeah, he wanted me to do a spin around because he liked the trench coat and he knew the show and everything and he knew the character, but he was just like, "Oh, like yeah, let's take a picture and all this other stuff." And it was really neat. It was nice. Really cool. So I did that for a couple of years until like 2018, I want to say, and then that's where I kind of like stopped or whatever it is. I was good at that point. But I went and cosplayed at that same show for like 3 years, and I even got it capped off with, and I said, "Look, I'm done. That's it. I can't do any better than that." With the fact that the 2018 show, I want to say it was the 2018 show or the 2017 one. It was the 20. Yeah, it was I think it was the 2018 one. That the people who ran the show, months before the show was going to happen, contacted me, asking me, "Hey, we're going to have David Tennant and John Barrowman, who played Captain Jack Harkness in the show, but he's also been in several things outside of that." And also Billy Piper, who played the companion, the love interest, if you want to say, of the Doctor. We're going to have all three of them at the show this upcoming year or what have you, and we want you to run the QA panel with them on the stage at the Laurie Auditorium and stuff. I was like, "What? You want me to do the thing that I do as my normal job, where I sponsor, discussion in front of large groups of people?" Okay, yeah, sure. So yeah, so I got to do that. Unfortunately, the thing is that whenever that Saturday came and the show came, all three actors did show up to the show, but John Barrowman was stuck in Canada for several hours finishing up filming an episode of Legends of Tomorrow for CW. He was able to arrive that night, but not during the day when the actual panel was going to happen. David Tennant was making so much money for the con signing autographs that they ended up not having him go to the actual panel. So I ended up having the entire time exclusively with Billy Piper, which is still nothing to sneeze at because
it was great.
Anyway, yeah, and and she enjoyed it too. Like I was like, when you're up on the stage at the Laurie Auditorium, there's like 2,500. I don't know how many seats are in the Laurie Auditorium, but there's a lot. But you can't see anything because those lights do make it to where you're lucky if you see silhouettes. But I got everybody who was coming up to ask a question. They were able to ask their questions of her. I was able to go through all my questions that I have. So I would ask, she would talk, I would get someone else to ask, they would talk, Whole thing finished right on the nose with the hour of time that they gave me to do it. And everybody got their questions asked. I got her to laugh at some stuff. I got the crowd to laugh at some stuff. And when we stepped off stage to go backstage there, she was so great. She was so tickled with the way that it went. She was like, "You're so good. Thank you so much. This was really awesome," and everything. I was like, "I will see you in a couple hours at the autograph table," kind of thing, with you and David and John. So yeah, it was really cool. So that's where I was like, "Okay, I don't need to cosplay as the Doctor anymore. I'm done." I barely knew about the show 4 years ago. Started cosplaying as him 3 years ago, and then here I am meeting all three of them and having an hour on stage in front of 2,000 people talking with Billy Piper. No, I'm done. That was it. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that because that's that, again, you're involved in or have been part of so many things that are so iconic. So
yeah, and I actually had a question before we switched over about gaming and stuff, and maybe this can be kind of the thing. So
the hard turn back to it.
What kind of games what games are we looking for? What games are you looking forward to? What games should we be looking forward to? Within the next year or so?
Oh gosh, well, Starfield just came out literally now 3 hours ago. At least for people who bought the collector's edition or the it actually hits the street, as it were, next week. But everyone who bought or paid for the collector's edition of it, or for the like middle ground, there's like the regular standard edition, then there's like whatever this edition is called in the middle of it, and then there's a collector's one. I got the middle ground one because I didn't care about the physical stuff, but those people got to play it 5 days early, so we get to play it today. Like worldwide, it went live 3 hours ago at the exact same time. So a lot of people were able to jump in on it. And it's gotten a lot of good reviews. Like, it's been very highly reviewed. The review embargo went up this morning, so everyone was giving it their scores and stuff. And it looks like it's hitting the right spots. But yeah, I'm going to dive into that for real. As far as new stuff, well, Street Fighter 6 just came out. I mean, it came out like maybe like 2 months ago. But to me, that's still brand new. And the game is it's so gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's the best looking. It's one of the best looking games out right now. They use the same graphics engine for the Resident Evil remakes on this game to make the characters look that realistic and stuff, even though they still look Street Fighter anime-y or whatever. But you can see like the muscles underneath their skin and everything like that, and the sweat beads and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing. But as far as new stuff, so Starfield, yeah. I am at a loss at a moment.
You mentioned, well, actually, you said Death Stranding 2 will be ready when it's ready. So
yeah, we'll see you in 4 years, maybe. Yeah.
I know you mentioned Mortal Kombat 1 because you and I.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. For reminding me. Yeah, Mortal Kombat 1 comes out it's very short time from now, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, I think it's like the 9th of September or so. It's in September. I believe it's pretty early though. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, it's a continuation from the series of Mortal Kombat 11, but it's timeline-wise, lore, story-wise, Mortal Kombat, a fighting game that has a deep storyline with fully fleshed out characters and everything. No way. Yes way, it does. And they press the reset button on the franchise based on time shenanigans that happened with the last 3 games, with 9, 10, and 11. So this is kind of like the reboot of the Mortal Kombat universe timeline. It, again, like the Mortal Kombat games, just look gorgeous. And this thing it's too gorgeous, because whenever we get into the fatalities and stuff like that, like some of them, like
they're gruesome.
They're pretty bad, man. Like some of the ones that Ermac, there's this one that Ermac does, I think in Mortal Kombat 10 or 11, where he levitates you and then uses his telekinesis to grab the stuff that should generally stay inside of you to pull it out of you through your pie hole, and then do stuff to it while your body's there, like looking at its insides now that are on the outside, and just watching it happen is like, woo! Sometimes you just have to, like, you're looking, but it's like a car wreck or something, kind of thing. But I'm damn right, I'm gonna keep playing them. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, and Starfield. And there's other stuff.
There's a new Tekken, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tekken 8 is coming. I believe the beginning of it's supposed to be around the beginning of next year, if I'm not mistaken, and that's a big graphic quality jump from 7 to 8. It's almost going to be like the same quality jump that Street Fighter had going to number 6, as far as how realistic the characters look now and stuff like that. Still looking a little anime-y, but looking very, very realistic. So yeah, Tekken 8, Mortal Kombat 1, Starfield. They are making, they say they're making a new Mass Effect game, a Mass Effect 4 that continues from the end of the trilogy, and it maybe ignores Andromeda, but we're more than likely we won't be seeing that for like a couple of years anyway. So we've seen a couple of like pieces of key art, and that's about it. So. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be done when it's done and not come out any earlier than that. But yeah,
that seems to be the thing with gaming as opposed to other industries, movies and so forth. Like I feel like time is taken with these major titles to make sure that things are where they should be. We're always going to have those like initial hiccups when games are released, but so much time is invested in
Yeah.
releasing that next version of the game or the next iteration. So
yeah, well, they spend literally years and hundreds of millions of dollars to make some of these things. Like Starfield, they started making it 8 years ago, that kind of thing. And Death Stranding, that took Kojima like 5 years to make that, and who knows how much money to do. Some of these games are take more than a couple $100 million to make, when back in the day it was like, I remember there was a PC game called Wing Commander that used real time, like they called it full motion video, where they like filmed the real actors dressed up as characters from the game in like blue screen sets to like do stuff to like drive the narrative outside of a game. And that one Wing Commander 3 was a space combat simulator, so you're in a cockpit, pew 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 kind of thing, but all the story parts were with Mark Hamill, Malcolm McDowell, John Rhys Davies, Tom Wilson, so Biff from what is it, Back to the Future, and all kinds of stuff. So it's like that game back then cost like $2 million to make, and now you've got like these games that are like making more money than Barbie. They make the video game industry makes more money than music and movies combined, but it still gets looked at as like, but it's just games though. It's like,
no,
it's not.
I know different now. That's for sure. So before we land the plane, Nick, we do have a question from the chat. Drew asks, "Do you stream?"
I don't. Really? I've got a Twitch channel, and I used to stream the two games that I streamed back before when I dipped my toe in and then like stopped, was the first Alan Wake on Xbox 360 or whatever, and then it was streaming the PC version, and then Alan Wake 2 future game that's gonna be soon. That's gonna be a good horror game that's coming out. But Alan Wake and a State of Decay, which is a Xbox Studios game, kind of like a how do you get by in a zombie apocalypse, but not shooty blow up stuff, but more like how do I actually, as a kind of action RPG gameplay style, survive in a Midwestern valley town that has been completely eviscerated by a zombie apocalypse. So how do I get by? Stealing cars, stealing food. How do I build out a base and all this kind of stuff? How do I do I find people to get in with me? So I streamed those two games for a while, and that was back like 2014 kind of style, or it was like back then. But I just didn't have. Even now, like, I don't, because I just don't have. I can't, unless anybody's there. I can't make myself talk for, like, I got this one here into doing all this right now, but I unless somebody's there to talk to already, like, I'm going to be more focused on the game and stuff anyway, so it's just a focus thing for me. If somebody's there in the chat, then sure, but yeah, I never got into doing it like as a constant thing. Could always change, but yeah.
That makes sense. All right, final question, impossible question. You can take one console with you. You're going to a deserted island. It has all the power and stuff you need. Let's just pretend Wi-Fi, whatever. One console over the entirety of your lifetime. You have one. You can take one console. What's it going to be and why?
My PC, because it has like my PC because it has because I might not be because the games that it doesn't have on it that say Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft have, all the games, the Microsoft games are on it anyway, because hello, Microsoft Windows. But the games that aren't released on PC, well, there's ways of playing them on PC. So
Xbox Live for Windows.
Yeah, or playing Breath of the Wild in 4K with ray trace shadows and lighting and stuff on my PC. Magnets, how do they work? It's like, yeah, PC. Funny. There you go.
Awesome. All right. Well, Nick, I know that we've just scratched the surface, believe it or not, given all the stuff you've shared. I can't thank you enough for making the time to talk with us tonight and just kind of share your passion for gaming.
Sure.
you're on the socials and such.
Yeah.
But you can find him at Raziel Prime. The name is spelled right there in his name bar. So just look him up. He
Yeah, you
shares
can see
stuff now and then.
you can see pictures of my vinyl records on Instagram and stuff like that. That's about that's about as close as I get. And then if I do
cool pictures, they're worth seeing.
And if I do press the start broadcast on Twitch, you'll see it. It's there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, say hi to Noodle for us, and we hope to have you back somewhere down the road to talk with us again. All right.
Right on. Cool. Thank y'all.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks, Nick. That was Nick Kramer. Again, the thing I love when it comes to having conversations with folks who are passionate about stuff, it's like it's like a night off. Let them share what they want to share. It's awesome.
Yeah. And especially somebody who not only is passionate, but very knowledgeable as well.
Yeah.
It's a treat. It really is.
I'm over here taking, like, he said Starfield. I'm like, Starfield. Like, adding stuff to my list. But it's always great to hear folks talk about the things they love, and I love how when I first started podcasting in 2015, Nick was one of my very first guests, and we had a similar conversation. I'm happy that I understood much of what he said today, and so much more than before.
You weren't clueless this time.
Not at all. Not at all. So.
Well, there you go.
Oh man, I didn't get Pikmin or Pikmin. What was it?
Pikmin.
Okay.
Pikmin. I'll show you. I'll send some stuff to you. You can see it.
Gotcha. I'll have to check that out. All right. Well, I think we've come to a perfect place to land the show. We can do TikTok of the week next week, and I need to make an apology to both yourself and everyone else. Taco Bell didn't happen this week because I was like, I don't think we can do an interview and Taco Bell during. So I think between you and I, we can. So next week, we're going to do the Taco Bell deal and talk about that. But Susan, where can people find us? Where should they look for us?
Well, you can find us right here on YouTube Live at we are a few minutes with ... on Facebook also at a few minutes with our personal pages. You've got our handles down below. This is for X and Threads as well. And Facebook, we're friends. We're probably friends.
But yeah, make sure you follow the show page on Facebook, A Few Minutes With ... And also the YouTube. If you're on YouTube, which most of you are, I can tell because y'all are chatting, and I appreciate that. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. Click that notification bell, because if you can make it live, then you'll know when the episodes land and they publish for VOD. So thank you all so much for the time you spend with us week to week. We will be back next week with a new episode. Susan, as always, thank you for making this hour plus an amazing time. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate being here, honestly.
It's a lot of fun for sure. All right. Well, with that said, we thank all of you once again for joining us. And we remind you, as we always do, you are awesome. You're amazing. And the world's a better place because you are in it. We'll see you next week on A Few Minutes With. Good night, everybody.